My name is Dozie Okafor, and I'm an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nations shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
Dozie Okafor started his career at OMD Nigeria in 2007. He is a trained electrical engineer from the University of Nigeria and also an alumnus of the Lagos Business School. He has worked at both OMD Nigeria and OMD Ghana across numerous brands. He moved to PhD Nigeria to serve for 5 years as the pioneer head of strategy and planning. Most recently, he served as the IMC lead for Coca-Cola Nigeria, West Africa Business Unit, where he managed the regional integrated marketing communications and media assets development. In June of 2017, Dozie returned to PhD Nigeria as managing director.
All right, welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Dozie.
Great to be here.
All right, Dozie, you attended the University of Nsukka,
Yes.
I believe, where you bagged your degree in electrical engineering, media. Please do share about those series of events in your childhood that even led you to study engineering in the first place.
I come from a family where there was a lot of belief that a science student should either be a doctor or an engineer. I had no intention of being a doctor, so by default I picked engineering. Electrical engineering was a course that I had a lot of fun studying while I was at school. But I think the harsh reality was once we left school, I realized it wasn't really what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I think what became the turning point for me was going for an interview in an engineering company. I'll leave the name out, but a pretty popular engineering company. And at the final stage of the interview, when I was told how long I was going to be a trainee and what I was going to earn and where I was going to work, it just didn't make sense. And close to my graduation, I already had the flair for computers, for IT, for entertainment, for advertising, for marketing. So it kind of made sense when I gradually moved into the media and advertising space. And that's how I am here today, really.
From records available, you never got a master's degree, right?
No.
But you went on to the Lagos Business School where you got a you attended a senior management program.
Yes,
why didn't you go the usual route that Nigerians take? You know, first degree and then a master's and maybe a PhD, you know, why not?
I think for me, I strongly believe that the focus was on, for me anyway, was on what you're able to deliver. It's about the work you put in and the results you achieve. I know that it's typically the route here in Nigeria to say, go get all the accolades, and then you deserve the job. Then you should be given the job, like it's a right or something. I don't think it works that way. I think when you get a job or you get a role, you focus on what the KPIs for that role is, and you deliver on those KPIs. As the roles evolve, your KPIs evolve. You focus your energy on developing or delivering those KPIs and delivering business results. And I think that is what any business owner looks out for. In the world we live in today and how connected the entire world is, it really isn't about how much qualifications you've garnered, but how much results are you able to bring to the table at the end of the day, because that's what business owners are looking for, results.
So you graduated in 2005, and the first record of a job that you held that's documented didn't come till 2009. What were you doing in the first 4 years after graduation?
So I used to work with a vehicle tracking company, and I did that for about a year. So I was the installation engineer. So we used to go around putting trackers in vehicles, and it was very tough to sell. It wasn't the most exciting of jobs, and it was also at that time it was a difficult sell because we had to sell to insurance companies first, and then get insurance companies to sell to their customers and then get us to install. So that's what I did within the first year or so. And shortly after that, I was flipping through the newspapers and saw an ad for a company with the name withheld. But all they said was that they were looking for engineers and statisticians and people that were good with figures. And I said, that's right up my alley. And I had just about had enough of tracking installations. So I went for the interview, got the job, and was only told what the job was on the final day. And it had to be a job as an analyst for a media agency.
Wow.
So that's how I got into media. So that's basically what was happening within the first couple of years after graduation.
Okay, so after spending about 11 months as a senior planning executive, I believe, at mediaReach OMD, you were promoted to deputy manager, and of course, deputy manager planning, and then subsequently moved to Ghana. Now, what do you think today? You're CEO of a leading agency. What would you say your CEO and the board saw in you that time, that facilitated that promotion?
When I joined mediaReach, I used to have a boss. His name is Festus. And he would see me working late nights, and he would walk past me and say, Dozie, if you keep this up, you're going to go far in this place. And, I took it to heart because I don't know if he really meant it, but I really did take it to heart. And I was always focused on saying, so, right, what does this role entail? What am I supposed to deliver? What does success on this role mean? And that was the driving force. Continuing to deliver on those results, continuing to make sure that every assignment given to me is delivered. But more importantly, I enjoyed what I was doing. It gave me the opportunity to be around numbers, to be around computers, to develop templates, to work with entertainment people. So it just bordered around a lot of things that I enjoyed doing. So gradually, it wasn't work. It was something I looked forward to coming to do every day. And the tickets to VIP events didn't hurt either. So it really was what drove me to deliver. And I never shied away from any task. So I was a planner, but if they ask who's going to go to Punch to deliver in sessions tonight, I'll say I'll go, because I wanted to work around the premises, see how the things are being done. If there was a role on who needs to go to Kano to recce some outdoor sites, I was like, sign me up. I want to go. I wasn't married at that time, so it was quite an easy decision to make at that time. And I think that's kind of the things that motivated the leaders of the business at that time to say, well, this guy has the drive, he has the ability to take a larger responsibility. But I think it's also opportunities that presented themselves, and I was quick to latch onto them. Shortly within the first couple of years at mediaReach, I found myself in a situation where my planning manager and buying manager had resigned at the same time. So as a young exec, I had to lead the team. So it was an opportunity I grabbed with both hands to prove to the business that even as a young executive, I could drive all the clients within the team with minimal complaints and delivering results to all of them. So I think for the business, the proof was in the work done. And it was a very easy decision for them to make offers and move me even to Ghana when I moved to work on the Vodafone account. So I think that's really what drove it. It was based on results and based on the work I had done there at that time.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
Dozie has risen to the top by working hard and smart, but more importantly, by being focused on scaling hurdles and delivering results for the businesses he worked in. From the perspective of one who has experienced both markets, I sought to find out what the differences in the business environments were between Nigeria and Ghana.
It's a much smaller market. Advertising budgets are smaller, the activities are smaller, the number of media houses are fewer, and so on and so forth. But I think as much as there's a lot of resemblance in the way we operate, there is also a lot of differences from a cultural standpoint. Ghana was a lot of fun, but also a bit difficult as well. Because whether you like it or not, you are still a foreigner in another man's land. So the first task as somebody leading a team in Ghana was to get acceptance. Not just acceptance by your team, but acceptance by the media owners, acceptance by the clients, and then getting recognition for being good at your job, and that's why you're here in the first place. So that probably took the first couple of months to establish. Once we were done with that, we had to start developing reforms. Reforms in the sense that, there were certain cultures or customs within the business that were not actually the best. And myself and my then boss, an Indian gentleman called Ajay, were both sent to Ghana to kind of set things right. And I think we did a pretty good job in the couple of years we were there.
Okay, so you were there for about 12 months, according to records, right?
Yeah, a little over 12 months, I think a year and a half or so.
A year and a half, and then you came back to this agency, that's PhD Media, to head media strategy.
Yeah.
Why did you make the move at the time?
Two things were happening almost at the same time. One is I was about to get married. And my wife now, my girlfriend then, wasn't so keen on moving to Ghana because she had her job here, she had a business she ran, which she was very happy about. And then I had already been coming to Nigeria to support mediaReach then to pitch on a new business. We had driven that pitch and won the pitch. And the business had to sit in a separate agency. Wow. So the opportunity more or less presented itself to say, well, you drove the pitch, now we've won it, come sit in Lagos and handle the business. And since I was about getting married as well, it all just made sense to move and come back to Ghana. And it was a more senior role. The perks were obviously better. So it was really an easy decision.
Okay. So after about 5 years at PhD Media, you opted out of agency life and moved to Coca-Cola, client side.
Yeah.
Interesting move, another interesting move yet again. Tell me about this move and then about your time at Coca-Cola.
So there's one thing I do with my wife every year, and at the beginning of each year we take stock of how we have grown over the years. So one thing I do as a person is I always set a target for myself every year. So I'm in the business of building brands. So the question is brand Dozie Okafor, how has it grown year on year? So for me, after working with PhD for 5 years, the next step within my career path for me in any case was I need to have a proper understanding of the entire marketing communications chain, not just the media aspect. But I didn't want to just have that experience in any client space. I wanted it to be one of the top 5 brands in the world. So I had penned down the companies I wanted to work with. Not that they were after me or anything like that, but I had a clear agenda of the kind of companies that it had to be. Google was one of them, Coke was one of them, and those were the kind of companies I was looking out for. So when the Coke opportunity came up, I said to myself, I need to go here, work there for about 3 years, acquire as much knowledge as I can. I had heard a lot about Coca-Cola. I had heard about the fact that they had a Coca-Cola University within the system where you could learn and understand the way their business runs. But more importantly, it was a 100% marketing company. So the Coca-Cola company is solely a marketing establishment, while the Nigerian bottling company handles the sales and distribution of the product. So there was no better place for me to have that more holistic and well-rounded understanding of the marketing communications landscape. So when the offer came, again, the money didn't hurt either. And the role was exactly what I wanted. And when I met the team in my first day on the job, I fell in love with the place automatically. I have never seen so many smart, talented young people in the same room ever. It was almost ridiculous. Meetings in that place, you had to come prepared because everybody is really on top of their game. Something I used to say while I was working at Coke was that everybody here deserves their seat. every single person. So we kind of understood why they were so well paid. Because they really deserved every cent or every copper they were paid. So for me, it was a huge learning experience. I took the first 6 months just soaking up knowledge. And I think after the first 6 months, even people within the system say, Dozie has really changed. We thought it was quiet, because I really spent the first couple of months learning, attending meetings. Some meetings were none of my business. But I just wanted to understand how commercial leadership worked, how the sales and distribution works, how the new product development worked, what is their route to market, how do they do their pricing, research work, all those things, advert testing. I just sat in everything. It got so bad I even handled marketing audits, which was also none of my business. So for 2 weeks I was in charge of marketing audits. It's just that quest for knowledge and understanding the way these big multinationals really work and how we can apply that to our own businesses here in Nigeria.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
From OMD Nigeria and Ghana to Coca-Cola, a pure marketing firm, Dozie was keen to learn more about how the marketing communications of a global brand works. It took only a few by surprise when Dozie was offered the leading role as managing director at PhD Media. Was he acting out a script he had prepared for himself, or was he shocked by the appointment?
June 2017, boom.
Yeah.
Managing Director, PhD Media. Would you have thought that 12 years down the line, you would be the Managing Director, CEO of an agency this size?
I'll be honest with you, probably not this size. I did have it on the cards to say 3 years after Coke, I want to start my own thing. But I wasn't in Coke for up to 3 years.
Okay.
The opportunity to head the business here came to me as a surprise as well. Because like I said, I already had my agenda, my plan on how I wanted to chart. I had an agenda of how I wanted to chart within the Coca-Cola system and move across the regions and have an understanding of how other markets on my continent also operate. And companies like the Coca-Cola company offered you that opportunity to move around within your business unit. And the business unit was about 33 countries. So that was my plan. That was the agenda. How do we move around this region and have a total understanding of the continent? But there's a gentleman who has been quite pivotal to my career growth throughout the Tolu Ogunkoya. He has never been reluctant to put an opportunity on the table for me, but he demands results. So he's also very clear on what the job will entail so that you think clearly on whether or not it's an opportunity you want to take. Tolu offered me the opportunity at mediaReach. He offered me the opportunity to move to Ghana. While in Ghana, he offered me the opportunity to head PhD. I offered myself the opportunity to move to Coke. But I think when the time was right, he offered me the opportunity to come back to PhD and head the business. And I think it was obvious to him and a lot of my directors that media is really what I want to do. So it wasn't such a difficult sell for him to get me to come back. In as much as I loved the life working at Coke, there was still that void in terms of, I'm a very hands-on person. Sitting at the client's end at some point, I don't want to say it got boring, but the reality is that the agencies do a whole lot of the work. And sometimes you want to be involved in that work. I still felt that there was a lot I could do here. PhD had become home to me, more or less. A lot of the staff here I recruited, a few of the clients I pitched for. So it was more of a homecoming. So then again, it wasn't a very difficult decision to make.
So in your role as managing director at PhD Media, what keeps you awake at night?
There were a lot of things keeping me up at night in the first couple of months. Now there are fewer things keeping me up at night. I wake up every morning thinking about my clients. I go to bed thinking about my clients. At the initial stage, I was concerned about not just the client, but ensuring the staff were in the right frame of mind, they were well remunerated, the teams were well structured, and things like that. But I think making sure that the client's requests are met, making sure that the staff are happy coming to work, and there are no issues that are being swept under the carpet. Because I have been in systems where I have seen staff issues fester, and they become such big issues at the end of the day. But more importantly, how do I keep the commitments I have made to the business in terms of our growth agenda, in terms of how we're going to train people, in terms of how we're going to put PhD on the map, how we're going to grow the business across the region? That is really what keeps me up at night. Making sure that the very next time I sit, I can say, I committed to delivering all these, this is how we've traveled. That for me is the real task.
All right, so in your role as MD still, what would success look like to you?
Success for me at PhD will be one, becoming one of the top 3 agencies in Nigeria with regards to billing from a revenue standpoint. 2, I want to be one of the best places to work in Nigeria. And this is staff testifying that they love working here at PhD. So that borders on not just remuneration, but how we treat our staff. Because what is clear to me is that once people are happy coming to work, they will give you their best. 3, we want to expand this business beyond Nigeria. The competition is no longer local. A lot of our clients are not interfacing with us just because we have an office in Lagos. We're talking to a lot of clients that have businesses across Africa, and they're looking for a partner across the continent, not just a partner in Lagos. So what we're beginning to understand is that we need to raise the competence level and the skill set within the country to match anybody, anywhere on the continent, and indeed anywhere in the world. We want a strategy being presented by a media planner here in Lagos to be at par with his counterparts in the UK. So raising that competence level to that standard really will be success for us. I'm Dozie Okafor. You too can be an under 40 CEO.